Hello to all of you out there. I am very excited about today's short story, which is Winnie the Pooh by A.A. Milne. Winnie the Pooh was first published in 1926 and entered the public domain in 2022. That means anyone can share, rewrite, reimagine, and enjoy this book free of charge. In the U.S., if a work of literature was created after 1978, its copyright lasts 70 years after the author's death. If it was created before 1978, various rules apply, but most last about 95 years. Thus, Winnie the Pooh became public domain on January 1st, 2022. A.A. Milne was an English author who mostly wrote stories for children. His most famous book is, of course, Winnie the Pooh, which was inspired by a trip to the zoo. The story is that Milne took his son, Christopher Robin, to the London Zoo, where he saw a cute baby bear named Winnipeg. Christopher Robin loved the bear so much that he renamed his own teddy bear Winnie. All the characters in the Winnie the Pooh stories are modeled after Christopher Robin's stuffed animals, which are now on display in a museum. I have prepared a slightly edited version of the first chapter in which we are introduced to Winnie the Pooh and some bees, and the story begins. Vocabulary: paw, paw. The cat licked her white paws. Branch, branch. The squirrel climbed the highest branch. Gracefully, gracefully. The queen gracefully danced with the king. Whisper, whisper. He whispered his secret to me. Deceive, deceive. The crooked businessman deceived his customers. Suspect, suspect. The police suspect that I committed the crime. Definitely, definitely. I will definitely go to your birthday party tonight. See you there. Stiff, stiff. After a long day of baseball practice, my shoulder was very stiff. The story. Once upon a time, a very long time ago now, about last Friday, Winnie the Pooh lived in a forest all by himself under the name of Sanders. One day when he was out walking, he came to an open place in the middle of the forest, and in the middle of this place was a large oak tree, and from the top of the tree there came a loud buzzing noise. Winnie the Pooh sat down at the foot of the tree, put his head between his paws, and began to think. First of all, he said to himself that a buzzing noise means something. You don't get a buzzing noise like that, just buzzing and buzzing without its meaning something. If there's a buzzing noise, somebody's making a buzzing noise, and the only reason for making a buzzing noise that I know of is because you're a bee. Then he thought another long time and said, and the only reason for being a bee that I know of is making honey. And then he got up and said, and the only reason for making honey is so as I can eat it. So he began to climb the tree. He climbed and he climbed and he climbed. And as he climbed, he sang a little song to himself. It went like this. Isn't it funny how a bear likes honey? Buzz, buzz, buzz. I wonder why he does. He was nearly there now, and if he just stood on that branch, crack! "Oh, help!" said Pooh as he dropped 10 feet on the branch below him. "If only I hadn't," he said as he bounced 20 feet onto the next branch. "You see, what I meant to do," he explained as he turned head over heels and crashed onto another branch 30 feet below. "What I meant to do," he said goodbye to the last branch, spun around 3 times, and flew gracefully into a bush. "It all comes of liking honey so much. Oh, help!" he cried. He crawled out of the bush, brushed the prickles from his nose, and began to think again. And the first person he thought of was Christopher Robin. So Winnie the Pooh went around to his friend Christopher Robin, who lived behind a green door in another part of the forest. "Good morning, Christopher Robin," he said. "Good morning, Winnie the Pooh," said the boy. "I wonder if you've got such a thing as a balloon about you?" asked the bear. "A balloon? What do you want a balloon for?" replied the boy. Winnie the Pooh looked round to see that nobody was listening, put his paw to his mouth, and said in a deep whisper, "Honey." Christopher Robin looked confused and said, "But you don't get honey with balloons." "I do," said Pooh. Well, it just happened that Christopher Robin had been to a party the day before at the house of his friend Piglet, and he had balloons at the party. "Which one would you like?" he asked Pooh. He put his head between his paws and thought very carefully. "It's like this," he said. "When you go after honey with a balloon, the great thing is not to let the bees know you're coming. Now, if you have a green balloon, they might think you were only part of the tree and not notice you. And if you have a blue balloon, they might think you were only part of the sky and not notice you. And the question is, which is most likely?" Christopher Robin tilted his head and asked, "Wouldn't they notice you underneath the balloon?" "They might or they might not," said Winnie the Pooh. "You never can tell with bees." He thought for a moment and said, "I shall try to look like a small black cloud. That will deceive them." Winnie the Pooh went to a very muddy place that he knew of and rolled until he was black all over. And then, when the balloon was blown up, Christopher Robin let go suddenly, and Pooh Bear floated gracefully up into the sky and stayed there, level with the top of the tree and about 20 feet away from it. "Hooray!" Christopher Robin shouted. "Isn't that fine?" shouted Winnie the Pooh. "What do I look like?" "You look like a bear holding onto a balloon," the boy said. "Not," said Pooh anxiously, "not like a small black cloud in a blue sky?" "Not very much." "Ah, well, perhaps from up here it looks different. And as I say, you never can tell with bees." There was no wind to blow him nearer to the tree, so there he stayed. He could see the honey. He could smell the honey, but he couldn't quite reach the honey. After a little while, he called down to Christopher Robin. "Christopher Robin," he said in a loud whisper. "Hello? I think the bees suspect something." "What sort of thing?" "I don't know, but something tells me that they're suspicious. Perhaps they think that you're after their honey." "It might be that. You never can tell with bees." There was another little silence, and then he called down again. "Christopher Robin." "Yes?" "Have you an umbrella in your house?" "I think so." "I wish you would bring it out here and walk up and down with it, and look up at me every now and then and say, 'Tut, tut, it looks like rain.' I think if you did that, it would help the deception which we are practicing on these bees." Christopher Robin laughed and said, "Silly old bear," and went home for his umbrella. A little while later, Christopher Robin returned. "Oh, there you are," called down Winnie the Pooh. "I was beginning to get anxious. I have discovered that the bees are now definitely suspicious." Christopher Robin looked up at him and said, "Shall I put my umbrella up?" The bear called down to his friend, "Yes, well, now, if you walk up and down with your umbrella, saying, 'Tut, tut, it looks like rain,' I shall do what I can by singing a little cloud song, such as a cloud might sing. Go!" So while Christopher Robin walked up and down and wondered if it would rain, Winnie the Pooh sang this song. "Oh, how sweet to be a cloud floating in the blue. Every little cloud always sings aloud. How sweet to be a cloud floating in the blue. It makes him very proud to be a little cloud." The bees were still buzzing as suspiciously as ever. Some of them, indeed, left their nests and flew all around the cloud as it began the second verse of this song, and one bee sat down on the nose of the cloud for a moment and then got up again. "Christopher, out, Robin!" called out the cloud. "Yes, I have just been thinking, and I have come to a very important decision. These are the wrong sort of bees." "Are they?" "Quite the wrong sort. So I should think they would make the wrong sort of honey, shouldn't you?" "Would they?" "Yes, so I think I shall come down." "How?" asked Christopher Robin. Winnie the Pooh hadn't thought about this. If he let go of the string, he would fall bump, and he didn't like the idea of that. So he thought for a long time, and then he said, "Christopher Robin, you must shoot the balloon with your gun. Have you got your gun?" Christopher Robin held up his BB gun for Pooh to see and replied, "But if I do that, I will spoil the balloon." Pooh looked down at him anxiously. "But if you don't," said Pooh, "I shall have to let go, and that would spoil me." Christopher Robin aimed very carefully at the balloon and fired. "Ow!" said Pooh. "Did I miss?" the boy asked. "You didn't exactly miss," said Pooh, "but you missed the balloon." "I'm so sorry," Christopher Robin said, and he fired again, and this time he hit the balloon, and the air came slowly out, and Winnie the Pooh floated down to the ground. But his arms were so stiff from holding on to the string of the balloon all that time that they stayed up straight in the air for more than a week, and whenever a fly came and settled on his nose, he had to blow it off. And I think, but I am not sure, that is why he was always called Pooh. Questions. Number 1. Why did Winnie the Pooh try to climb the tree? A. He knew there were bees up there. B. He wanted to see the 100-acre wood. C. He was scared of the heffalump. D. Christopher Robin shot him. The answer is A. He knew there were bees up there. Question 2. How did Winnie get to the top of the tree? A. He climbed. B. He used a ladder. C. He took the elevator. D. He used a balloon. The answer is D. He used a balloon. Question 3. Why did Winnie ask Christopher Robin if he had an umbrella? A. He wanted Christopher Robin's help to trick the bees. B. He didn't want Christopher Robin to get wet. C. He wanted Christopher Robin to catch him in the umbrella. D. He lost his own umbrella. The answer is A. He wanted Christopher Robin's help to trick the bees. Question 4. What might be the reason Winnie is called Pooh? A. He had irritable bowel syndrome. B. He was always blowing flies off of his nose. C. He always said pooh when someone asked for his honey. D. He was granted that title by the king. The answer is B. He was always blowing flies off of his nose.